The June sun was brutal, but standing there on the steps of City Hall, I felt like I was submerged in ice water. 30 feet ahead of me, my wife was on the arm of another man, her face lit up with a radiant smile I'd never seen before. They had just gotten their marriage license. The problem was, my marriage to Chloe hadn't been dissolved yet. "Julian, do I look beautiful today?" Chloe asked, tilting her head back. Her eyes sparkled with a light I had never been the recipient of. She was wearing that champagne-colored dress, the one I bought for her in Paris last year. "Beautiful," Julian Vance said, his voice a low murmur. "My Chloe is always the most beautiful." He tenderly brushed a strand of wind-blown hair from her face with a practiced ease. I stood there for a long time, long enough to watch them disappear around the corner. My phone buzzed with a message from a business partner. "Sam, the representative from the Vance Jewelry Group, is in the conference room. They're waiting for you." I let out a bitter laugh. Waiting for me. It seemed Julian Vance was a master multitasker. He could steal my wife and try to cut a deal with me on the same day. I canceled the meeting and drove straight back to the office. On the way, I made a call to the private investigator I'd had on retainer for years. I needed to look into Chloe and a man named Julian Vance. "Give me everything you can find and be discreet." After hanging up, I lit a cigarette. As the smoke curled around me, the image of Chloe's smile flashed in my mind. It was a happiness that radiated from deep within, something she had never shown when she was with me. 5 years of marriage, and I thought I knew her. What a fucking joke. A notification pinged on my phone. It was from Chloe. "Hey honey, I'm going out to dinner with friends tonight. Don't wait up." "Friends?" I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the screen for a few seconds before I typed back a simple, "Okay." When I got back to the office, my executive assistant rushed to meet me. "Mr. Blackwell, the people from Vance Jewelry have been waiting for 2 hours." "Let them go," I said flatly. "And from now on, we are no longer considering any partnership with the Vance Jewelry Group." "But, sir, we've been working on this deal for almost 6 months." I said. I repeated, my voice dropping an octave. "We are no longer considering it." My assistant froze for a second, then nodded and retreated. I opened my laptop and pulled up the security footage from the past few months from our home system. Sure enough, on every day I've been away on business, a sleek black Porsche, Julian's car, appeared at the curb in front of my house. The most recent time was just last week. So, the missing bottles of vintage Bordeaux from my wine cellar weren't because of the housekeeper. They were for this adulterous pair to toast their affair. I closed my eyes and took a deep, steadying breath. "Chloe, oh Chloe, you have impeccable timing." Our 5th wedding anniversary was next month. I had already commissioned a custom $1 million diamond ring for her. I was planning to surprise her. Looks like I'm the one who got the surprise. I got home at 10 o'clock sharp. The house was dark. Chloe, as expected, wasn't back yet. I flipped on the lights, and my gaze fell on our wedding portrait hanging on the wall. In the photo, her smile was bright and full of hope for the future. I took the portrait down, my fingers tracing the outline of her face. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Chloe leaning against the doorframe, reeking of alcohol. "Honey, I drank too much," she murmured, slumping into my arms. I held her steady and caught the scent of an unfamiliar cologne in her hair. It was the same one Julian Vance wore. "That much? Who were you with?" I asked, my voice calm and even. "Just friends. A few of the girls from the design team." She slurred, already half asleep. I helped her to the bedroom and took off her heels. She fell asleep almost instantly, a faint, satisfied smile playing on her lips. I stood by the bed, watching her for a long time. Moonlight streamed through a gap in the curtains, illuminating the delicate features of her face. A face that had once driven me wild with love, that had made me want to lay the entire world at her feet. Now all I felt was a cold, biting irony. I walked out of the bedroom and sent a text to my PI. "Dig into Julian Vance's background. I want to know all his weaknesses. If you two want to play games, then let's play." The next morning, I was woken by the smell of cooking from the kitchen. Walking into the dining room, I saw Chloe at the stove, frying bacon. She was wearing a pink sweatsuit, her hair tied back in a messy ponytail. She looked the part of a perfect doting wife. "Honey, you're awake. I made you breakfast," she said, turning to give me a smile. "I'm so sorry about last night. I had way too much to drink." I sat down at the table. "It's fine, as long as you had a good time." She placed a plate of eggs and bacon in front of me. Has work been stressful lately? You always seem to have something on your mind. It's manageable, I said, picking up my fork. By the way, our 5th anniversary is next month. Is there anything special you want? She paused, clearly taken aback for a moment, before forcing a laugh. You have such a good memory, I almost forgot. You don't have to get me anything. Just having a nice dinner with you is enough. I watched her feigned nonchalance, a cynical smile touching my lips. Of course you don't want a gift. By then, you'll probably be with Julian. After breakfast, I left for work as usual. The moment I walked in my office, the PI called. Mr. Blackwell, I have the full dossier on Julian Vance. On the surface, he's a successful entrepreneur, but his personal life is a mess. He's had several mistresses, but he cut ties with all of them a few months ago. It seems he's been serious about pursuing your wife. I snorted. Go on. His biggest vulnerability is his jewelry company. It looks successful now, but he built it on a foundation of bribery and fraud. I found solid evidence that he's been passing off high-quality fakes as real diamonds. If this gets out, he'll be ruined. Send me the evidence. After the call, I opened the files the investigator sent. So, the esteemed CEO of Vance Jewelry was selling counterfeit diamonds to his clients. Worse, he was bribing gemological labs to issue fraudulent certificates of authenticity. All these years, countless people have been duped. Interesting. As I was reviewing the files, Chloe called. Honey, I have to go to Paris next week for a big jewelry exposition. I'll probably be gone for about 10 days. Paris? I asked, feigning ignorance. Is it for your company's event? Yes, it's a really important expo. I have to be there, she said, her voice laced with urgency. All right, just be safe, I said casually. By the way, is Vance Jewelry exhibiting there as well? There was a distinct pause on the other end of the line. How did you know? I saw it in the news, I replied smoothly. Vance Jewelry is a hot brand right now, aren't they? Oh, right. Well, honey, I have to go. I have to prep my materials. After she hung up, a cold smile spread across my face. Paris, what a perfect cover. A romantic getaway with Julian while I was out of the picture. I turned to my computer, organized the evidence of Julian's crimes, and then called an old friend. He runs a powerful and respected jewelry house in France. Hey, Mark, I need you to do me a favor. After the call, I leaned back in my chair, a smirk on my face. Chloe, since you love jewelry so much, I'm going to show you what real jewelry looks like. That evening, I came home to find Chloe packing. Honey, I made dinner for you. It's in the kitchen. I have to go back to the office to work late, so I might be back pretty late. I looked at the designer clothes she was packing, all items I had bought for her. Working late. I walked over to her. Do you need me to pick you up? No, it's fine, she said without looking up. It could be really late. You should get some sleep. I didn't say anything. I just turned and went into my study. I opened my laptop and pulled up Vance Jewelry's most recent financial statements. Interesting. This guy, Julian, certainly had ambition. To expand his market share, he was planning to acquire several smaller jewelry companies. And those companies just so happened to be the primary competitors of my friend Mark. It seemed this trip to Paris was about more than just a secret rendezvous. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Mark. We can begin the plan. A little while later, Chloe returned. Her cheeks were flushed, a clear sign she'd been drinking. Back already? I asked, pretending to be surprised. Yeah, I was really productive today, she said with a yawn. I'm going to take a shower. I watched her walk into the bathroom, then picked up her purse and quickly searched it. Just as I suspected, tucked into an inner pocket, I found a hotel key card. The Ritz Paris. Tasteful, I'll give him that. I took a picture of the key card with my phone and slipped it back where I found it. Honey, what are you looking for? Chloe's voice startled me. I turned to see her standing in the doorway, wrapped in a towel. Nothing, just looking for a pen, I said nonchalantly. She said, oh, and walked into the closet to get dressed. I stared at her back, my gaze turning to ice. Chloe, do you really think I don't know anything? You love to act, don't you? Well, I'll play along with you. Get ready for the show. 03. The day before the Paris Jewelry Exposition, I took all my senior executives out to dinner. In the private dining room, the atmosphere was lively, with glasses clinking and people celebrating. I sat at the head of the table, projecting an image of a man in high spirits. Mr. Blackwell, I hear your wife is heading to Paris tomorrow for the expo, one of the VPs asked. I nodded with a smile. Yes, it's a very important event. She'll be there for 10 days. And you're not going with her? I can't. There's too much to handle here at the office, I said, raising my glass. Come on, everyone a toast. After a few rounds of drinks, I pretended to take a call and stepped out into the hallway. I dialed Mark. Is everything ready? Don't worry, it's all going according to plan, Mark said. I have people watching the Vance jewelry booth. The second they display those fakes, we'll report them. Good, I said with a cold smile. And make sure you make a scene. The bigger, the better. I hung up and went back to the dining room. Watching the swirl of activity, I was suddenly reminded of the first time I met Chloe. It was at a jewelry show, much like the one in Paris. She was wearing a simple white dress, standing before a display case, her eyes fixed on a diamond ring. Her gaze was so clear then, her smile so pure. It was in that moment that I decided I had to have her. Thinking back on it now, it was laughable. Perhaps from the very beginning, it wasn't me she was interested in, but the lifestyle I could provide. When I got home, Chloe was doing a final check of her luggage. All packed, I asked, walking over. Yep. She closed the suitcase. Honey, I'll bring you back a gift from Paris. I looked at her, at that tender expression she was putting on, and felt a wave of disgust. You don't have to. Just take care of yourself. She looked up at me, as if she wanted to say something more, but ultimately decided against it. The next morning, I drove her to the airport. As we said goodbye, she gave me an unprompted hug. I'm leaving now, honey. Take care of yourself. I smiled and patted her on the head. Don't worry about me. Have a safe flight. As she disappeared through the security gate, I pulled out my phone and sent a text to Mark. She's on the plane. 3 hours later, I got a reply. All set. They'll be followed the moment they land. Excellent. Let's see what kind of show you two adulterers put on in Paris. Back at the office, I began to set the next phase of my plan in motion. First, I had my brokers start quietly acquiring shares of Vance jewelry stock. It wasn't a controlling interest, but it would be enough to cast a deciding vote when the time came. Next, I contacted a few journalists at major financial news outlets and gave them an off-the-record tip that a huge story might be breaking at the Paris Jewelry Exposition. After making the calls, I leaned back in my chair and lit a cigarette. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. Honey, I've landed in Paris. Everything is great here. I replied with a single letter. A moment later, a message from Mark came through. Your wife and Vance are at a restaurant on the Champs-Élysées. Want me to send you pictures? No, I typed back. Just stick to the plan. I put my phone down and opened my laptop, pulling up the sales data I had on Vance jewelry. Interesting. To make a huge splash at the Paris Expo, Julien had brought all of his best counterfeit diamonds. Those priceless masterpieces were all just high-grade fakes. And to grease the wheels for his entry into the European market, he had also prepared a substantial bribery fund. He really was handing me a gift on a silver platter. That night, Chloe sent another message. Honey, today was exhausting. I'm going to bed. The expo starts tomorrow. I need to be well rested. I stared at the screen, a cold smile playing on my lips. Exhausting? You must be tired from all that shopping and sightseeing with Julien. I opened my laptop and clicked on the video file Mark had just sent. It was from a discreet surveillance team. In the video, Chloe was arm in arm with Julien, strolling down the Champs-Élysées. They would stop periodically to look at something in a shop window. Julien would gently fix her hair when the wind blew it out of place, a gesture so intimate it made my stomach turn. Watching the genuine happiness on Chloe's face in that video, my heart turned to stone. Fine. If you're so in love, then I'll help you be together. Forever. 04. Day 1 of the Paris Jewelry Exposition. First thing in the morning, I received a text from Mark. The Vance jewelry booth is incredibly lavish. They've put all the fakes in the most prominent display cases. I texted back, get ready for the show. At 10 a.m. Paris time, the expo officially opened. I pulled up a live stream of the event. The camera panned across the Vance jewelry booth. Chloe was standing in front of a display, elegantly describing a limited edition diamond necklace to a potential buyer. She wore a stunning red gown. Her makeup was flawless, and every gesture was graceful and poised. Julien stood right beside her, adding a comment here and there. They worked together seamlessly. They looked like the picture-perfect couple. Too bad the curtain was about to fall on their little play. Sure enough, a few minutes later, there was a commotion on the live stream. Several people in official uniforms approached the Vance Jewelry booth and presented their credentials. Sir, we've received a complaint alleging that the jewelry you are displaying is fraudulent. We'll need to conduct an on-site inspection. The color drained from Julian's face. That's impossible. All of our jewelry has been certified by reputable institutions. Then please present the certificates of authenticity. Julian frantically searched through his documents, but it was useless. The gemological labs had already been bought. The certificates he had were worthless forgeries. The scene descended into chaos. More reporters, smelling blood, swarmed the booth, their cameras all pointed at Julian and Chloe. I saw Chloe standing off to the side, her face as white as a sheet. She could never have imagined that her carefully planned Parisian getaway would end like this. The inspection was swift. After professional analysis, we have confirmed that these are all counterfeit items, worth less than 1,000th of the value of the genuine articles. The announcement sent a shockwave through the exhibition hall. Julian's face was ashen. He tried to offer an explanation, but it was too late. The police were already cordoning off the booth and asking him to come with them for questioning. Chloe just stood there, trembling. She watched, tears streaming down her face, as Julian was led away. I closed the live stream and sent a text to Mark. Well done. This is just the beginning, he replied. I leaned back in my chair and lit a cigarette. Was that loud enough for you, Chloe? 05. The next morning, the story was on the front page of every major news outlet in Paris. Shock. Renowned jewelry brand in massive counterfeit scandal. Thousands of customers defrauded. Vance Jewelry scandal deepens. May involve international fraud charges. Exclusive. Evidence of bribery at Vance Jewelry leaked. Company faces colossal fines. I sat in my office, sipping my coffee and reading the headlines. My phone rang. It was Chloe. Sam, she said, her voice choked with tears. Something terrible has happened. What's wrong? I feigned concern. I saw something in the news about Vance Jewelry. Are you okay? I don't know what to do. She sobbed. The company's assets have been seized. Our booth is shut down. All the jewelry has been confiscated. Okay, just stay calm, I said. Do you want me to fly over there right now? There was a noticeable hesitation. No, you don't have to. The company is sending lawyers to handle it. We should be able to come home soon. I hung up and sneered. Chloe, even now, you're still worried I'll come to Paris and find you with Julian? It's too late for that. I opened my laptop. A new email from Mark was waiting. Julian had been formally detained by the police, and all his assets in Paris were frozen. Even better, the large sum of cash he had brought for bribes had been discovered and seized. It was almost too perfect. I picked up the phone and started calling the other major shareholders of Vance Jewelry. These were people who had long been unhappy with Julian's autocratic leadership. Now was the perfect time to win them over. As I expected, after a few calls, they all agreed to support my play at the next board meeting. That night, Chloe called again. Sam, I think I want to come home early. Oh, I thought you were staying for 10 days. I asked, plain dumb. There's nothing left to do here. I just want to come back, she said, her voice trembling. Can you pick me up from the airport? I paused for a moment. Of course. Send me your flight information. After hanging up, I pulled up the live feed from the surveillance in Paris. Chloe was in her hotel room at the Ritz, frantically packing her bags. Julian was there with her. Chloe, I'm so sorry, Julian said, trying to hold her. I never thought this would happen. What good is saying that now? Chloe pushed him away. Do you have any idea how this is going to destroy me? Don't worry, I'll fix this. I promise, he said desperately. I have other assets. Once this blows over. Blows over? Chloe laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. You think a scandal this big just blows over? I don't care what you have to do. You need to make this go away. Okay, don't be angry. Julian tried to soothe her. We'll fly back together tomorrow, and I'll start handling it immediately. No, Chloe cut him off. My husband is picking me up from the airport. We can't go back together. You figure out your own way back. Watching the scene unfold on my screen, I smiled coldly. What a performance. The next day, I was at the airport right on time to pick up Chloe. She looked exhausted, her eyes red and puffy. Sam, she fell into my arms. I missed you so much. I patted her back gently. It's okay. Let's go home. In the car, She rested her head on my shoulder. I'm so sorry, I messed up the exposition so badly. It's not your fault, I said. Who could have predicted something like this would happen with Vance Jewelry? Her body tensed. Yeah, it was so unexpected. I continued. By the way, I heard Julian Vance was arrested. Why, yes, I think so. Her voice quivered. I don't really know the details. I glanced at her panicked expression, my heart growing colder by the second. Chloe, you're a terrible liar. 3 days after Chloe's return, Vance Jewelry held an emergency board meeting. As a minor shareholder, I received an invitation. The atmosphere in the boardroom was tense. Julian sat at the head of the table, his face a grim mask. He had just returned from Paris and looked like he had been through hell. Everyone, I want to apologize for what happened, he said, forcing a confident tone. But I assure you, we will get through this crisis. Get through it? An older board member scoffed. Julian, do you have any idea the kind of damages the company is facing? The defrauded customers alone will cost us billions. I'll find a way. What way? Another director interjected. The fraud, the bribery, it's all been proven. I move that we immediately restructure the board and remove Julian Vance as CEO. Julian shot to his feet. You can't do this. I built this company from nothing. I sat in the corner, watching the drama unfold in silence. The vote was called. The result was a foregone conclusion. Julian was removed as CEO, and all his executive powers were suspended by the board. What is the meaning of this? Julian's face was beet red. This is my company. Mr. Vance, I suggest you watch your tone. I spoke up for the first time. Vance Jewelry now belongs to all of its shareholders. His head whipped around to look at me, his eyes filled with venom. Blackwell, you're behind this, aren't you? I smiled faintly. You give me too much credit, Mr. Vance. I'm just a small shareholder. How could I have that kind of power? He started to lunge, then stopped, a look of dawning horror on his face as he pieced it all together. After the meeting, I received a call from Chloe. Sam, did you go to the Vance Jewelry board meeting today? She asked, her voice tight with anxiety. Yes, I own some stock, I said. Why? And no reason. She stammered. What do you want for dinner? I can make something. Don't bother. I'm working late tonight. I hung up and immediately checked the tracking software on her phone. As expected, she called Julian right away. Julian, what the hell is going on? Why does my husband own stock in your company? I don't know, Julian roared back. It has to be him. He's the one who's been pulling the strings. Chloe, you have to help me. Find out what he's been up to. Are you insane? How am I supposed to do that? Chloe shot back, her voice rising in panic. The most important thing right now is to save your company. It's no use. Julian's voice suddenly deflated. Today's vote, it was a setup. That bastard Blackwell must have been buying out the shareholders for months. I closed the app, a cold smile on my face. So, you finally figured it out, Julian? Too bad it's far too late. That evening, I went to a private club downtown. Mr. Blackwell, all the information you requested is here, my PI said, handing me a manila envelope. I opened it and scanned the contents, nodding in satisfaction. Good work. Sir, should I leak this evidence to the press now? Not yet, I said, taking a sip of my scotch. Let's wait. The best part is yet to come. When I got home, Chloe was already asleep. I stood by the bed, looking down at her. In the moonlight, her face was still beautiful. But to me, it was now the face of a stranger. I walked out of the bedroom and sent a text to my PI. Tomorrow, we begin phase 2. The next morning, the entire business world exploded. Exclusive, the inner workings of the Vance Jewelry fraud. Breaking, leaked list exposes Vance Jewelry's bribery scheme, the Vance scandal. The questionable origins of Julian Vance's fortune. The news was everywhere. Vance Jewelry's stock plummeted, triggering an automatic halt in trading. I sat in my office, watching the sea of red on the stock market display, feeling nothing but a calm satisfaction. Chloe called again. Sam, did you see the news? Her voice was trembling. Yes, I saw, I said. It looks like Vance Jewelry is in serious trouble. So, what about our shares? What do we do? I laughed coldly. Don't worry. I sold them all off. What? She was stunned. What did you do that? Right before the board meeting, I said. I had a feeling things were about to go south, so I liquidated my position. There was a long silence on the other end. Sam, you're a genius. I hung up and opened the surveillance feed. Chloe immediately called Julian to tell him I had sold my shares. What? Julian screamed, his voice raw with fury. He knew this was going to happen. He got out ahead of it. Julian, calm down. Chloe pleaded. We need to focus on cutting our losses. What losses is there to cut? He yelled. The company is finished. Everything I built is gone. I closed the video feed and called my PI. Are you ready? Everything is ready, he confirmed. I have all of Julian's dirty laundry compiled. Evidence of bribery, fraud, tax evasion, and a few other things. Excellent. I interrupted. Tomorrow, release it all. Chloe came home very late that night. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Sam, are you hungry? I cut her off. I ordered some food. She stared at me for a moment, then shook her head. I'm not hungry. I looked at her ravaged face without a shred of pity. You're not sad for us, Chloe. You're sad for Julian. The next day, the final storm hit. All of Julian's secrets were laid bare. Every illegal act he had ever committed, every personal scandal, all of it was now public knowledge. When the market opened, Vance Jewelry's stock flatlined completely. The board convened an emergency session and voted to report Julian's criminal activities to the authorities. Julian completely broke down. You can't do this, he shrieked, slamming his fists on the table. This company is my life's work. Mr. Vance, please control yourself, I said coolly, or we will have to call security. He whirled on me. Blackwell, this was all you, wasn't it? You did all of this. What are you talking about, Julian? I smiled. You're the one who committed fraud. You're the one who paid bribes. You're the one who broke the law. What does any of that have to do with me? You. He lunged across the table at me. Security guards immediately grabbed him and dragged him out of the room. My phone rang as I was watching the news coverage. It was Chloe. Sam, where are you? She asked urgently. I need to talk to you. I'm at the office, I said. What is it? Stay there. I'm on my way. After she hung up, I sent a final text to my PI. Are you ready? Ready, he replied. I have all the evidence. Every photo, every video, and every text message between her and Julian. Good. I typed back, leaning back in my chair. Let's begin when she arrives. Chloe arrived in a flurry. She burst into my office without knocking, her face pale, her eyes bloodshot. Sam, I have to tell you something. Oh, I looked up from my desk. What is it? She bit her lip, hesitating. It's about the Vance Jewelry situation. It's not all Julian's fault. I put down my pen. What do you mean? I mean, she stammered. I think someone might be intentionally trying to ruin him. I laughed. Is that so? And who do you think is trying to ruin him? I don't know. She looked down at the floor. But Julian, he's not a bad person. Oh, I stood up and walked around the desk to stand in front of her. And you know him that well. Her head snapped up. No, I just meant. You just meant what? I stared directly into her eyes. That you feel sorry for your lover. The blood drained from Chloe's face. What are you talking about? I let out a cold, humorless laugh and turned on the monitor on my desk, playing a video file. It showed her and Julian strolling arm in arm down the Champs-Élysées. That's not what it looks like. She stammered, taking a step back. I can explain. Explain. I clicked play on another file. This one was from the hotel room. Thump. She collapsed onto the floor, her entire body shaking. No, it's not like that. Not like that. I walked over and loomed above her. Then tell me, Chloe, what is it like? She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Sam, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. You know you were wrong? I sneered. So you came here to beg me to go easy on Julian? No. She crawled forward and grabbed my leg. I swear I regret it. Please forgive me. I kicked her away in disgust. Do you really think saying sorry means anything now? Sam, she wailed, tears streaming down her face. I know I was wrong. I don't want Julian. I just want you. I crouched down and grabbed her by the chin, forcing her to look at me. Chloe, you know what? You were right. Someone was behind what happened to Vance Jewelry. She froze. WH what? That person, I said, enunciating every word, was me. Her eyes widened in disbelief. No, that's impossible. Why is it impossible? I stood up again. Did you really think I didn't know about you too? I've known since the day I saw you at City Hall. She looked like she had been turned to stone. You, you knew since. That's right. Everything that has happened since then was orchestrated by me, I said coldly. The stock acquisition, the setup in Paris, the media leaks. All of it was my doing. Why? She whispered. Why would you do that? Why? I let out a loud, sharp laugh. Because you both needed to pay a price. You needed to learn what happens when you betray me. She suddenly flew into a rage, scrambling to her feet and lunging at me. Sam, you're a monster. You ruined Julian. You ruined us. I easily caught her wrists. No, you two ruined this marriage first. Just then, the office door opened. 2 police detectives walked in. Miss Chloe Blackwell, you're under arrest for your role in the Vance jewelry fraud case. You need to come with us. She stared at me in horror. You even planned this. I straightened my suit jacket. Of course. And this is just the beginning. As the police led her away, I picked up my phone and gave my PI one last command. Do it. The next day, a single headline dominated the news. Disgraced jewelry mogul Julian Vance dead by suicide in jail cell. 09, the moment the news broke, the business world was stunned. Julian Vance had hanged himself in his cell, leaving behind a long letter in which he confessed to all of his crimes. I sat in my office, watching the report on TV, a cold smirk on my face. He got off easy. It had been 3 days since Chloe was taken into custody. I was told she had a complete breakdown, crying constantly and making several attempts to harm herself. I pulled up the remote feed from her holding cell. She was curled up in a corner, looking like she had aged 10 years. Her hair was a mess, her eyes were swollen shut, and her lips were cracked and dry. Seeing her like that, I felt nothing. My private investigator called. Mr. Blackwell, I've obtained a copy of Julian's suicide note. Read it to me. In a letter, Vance claims the fraud was all his idea and that Chloe knew nothing about it. He also said that he loved her and he begged the court not to involve her. I sneered. He was acting right up until the end. Sir, should I provide the police with the truth? No, I said. Let them believe his version. I hung up and opened a drawer on my desk. Inside was a flash drive containing every conversation between Chloe and Julian. It had proof of how she actively helped him with the fraud, how she helped him launder the money. If I gave this to the police, she would be sentenced to at least a decade in prison. But I had no intention of doing that. Letting her live with the pain of losing everything was a far better punishment. That night, Chloe's parents called me. Sam, please, you have to help Chloe. Her mother cried so hard she could barely speak. She knows she was wrong. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do, I said with a sigh. She made her choice. But she's your wife. Yes, she's my wife, I said coldly, which is why I have to wonder why she didn't think of that when she was betraying me. The line went silent. After a long pause, her father spoke. Sam, we know what Chloe did was wrong. But can't you, for the sake of all the years we've been family? Don't make me laugh. I cut him off. What family? Are you telling me you didn't know your daughter was having an affair? Well, I have to go. I hung up the phone. The next day, I visited Chloe in jail. She scrambled toward the reinforced glass like a drowning person grasping for a lifeline. Sam, please help me. I swear I know I was wrong. I looked at her haggard face, my own expression blank. I came to tell you something. What is it? She asked desperately. Our divorce has been finalized. I held up a document. Your parents signed on your behalf. Her eyes went wide. No, that's not possible. It's very possible, I said. I started the proceedings the day I saw you with Julian at City Hall. She began to beat her fists against the glass. Sam, you're a demon. You had this all planned from the beginning, didn't you? Yes, I said with a smile. I wanted you both to have nothing. You're not human, she screamed. Do you know how Julian died? You pushed him to it. You killed him. I stood up, looking down on her. You're wrong. Your betrayal is what killed him. With that, I turned and walked away. Her frantic screams followed me down the hall. Sam, you'll get what's coming to you. You'll pay for this. I didn't look back. A week later, Chloe was released on bail. The first thing she did was go to Julian's grave. I had someone take pictures of her weeping over the headstone. Looking at the photos, I found it all faintly amusing. You two loved to put on a show. And now, the show was finally over. 3 months later, I was in my office, reading the morning paper. Heiress to ruined fortune in renewed mental health crisis after another suicide attempt. The article stated that Khloe had tried to kill herself 3 times in recent months, but was discovered each time. She had been committed to a psychiatric hospital. I folded the newspaper and looked out the window. It was a beautiful day, bright and sunny. My assistant knocked and entered. "Mr. Blackwell, the materials for the new project are all ready." "Good." I stood up. "By the way, how is that donation to the Children's Hospital coming along?" "It's all been arranged," she said. "As you requested, the entire donation was made anonymously in Julian Vance's name." I smiled. "Excellent. It was my final gift to Julian. Let the world think he did one last good deed before he died, and let Khloe live with that guilt for the rest of her life." That evening, I drove by the hospital. Through a window, I could see Khloe sitting in her room, staring blankly outside. She was unrecognizable. Her hair was unkempt, her eyes vacant. A nurse had told my contact that she spent her days mumbling, "I'm sorry," over and over again, though no one knew who she was talking to. I turned and walked away. When I got home, I opened my safe and took out the flash drive containing all the evidence. I sat at my computer and, one by one, I deleted every photo and every video. Finally, I dropped the flash drive into my office shredder. It was all over.